Hi, I'm Olivia. Welcome to my presentation, Mother Earth, the role of ecofeminist narratives in the media. We will be discussing how ecofeminism is portrayed in the media and why these perspectives are important and powerful. To begin with, what exactly is ecofeminism? That's a valid question. Environmentalism is a political and ethical movement that seeks to improve and protect the quality of the natural environment through changes to environmentally harmful human activities. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. Ecofeminism is a combination of the two terms coined by French feminist François Dubon in 1974. Ecofeminism is a branch of feminism and the feminist movement that explores the relationship between gender and the environment. Women and gender are both seen as nurturing and feminine figures. This is shown through the Mother Earth narrative. Ecofeminism is a theory, a movement that aims to understand how the oppression of women is linked with the oppression of nature that comes from the attitudes and practices linked to a patriarchal society. Through platforms such as advertising, film, social media, and video games, media reflects and reinforces cultural narratives. The media presence of ecofeminism is present, but often very subtle or symbolic. Ecofeminist narratives in the media can either promote awareness or be distorted to serve consumerist or patriarchal goals. Three movies that come to mind when I think of ecofeminism representation in movies is Avatar, made in 2009, Pocahontas, made in 1995, and Moana in 2016. In the movie Avatar, there's Awa, the deity of the Na'vi people, and it's a feminine life force that connects all living things. This spiritual ecology reflects the ecofeminist view that nature is not a resource but a living entity. Similarly, in the movie Pocahontas, though wildly historically inaccurate, does this similar thing with the personification of nature through Grandmother Willow, a wise tree who speaks and advises Pocahontas, reinforcing the idea that nature is maternal, a central ecofeminist concept. There's also, through both movies, a critique of patriarchal capitalism, as there's human invaders representing either colonial or militarized capitalism, driven by greed and domination. Their destruction of sacred land echoes how patriarchal systems exploit both women and nature. The movie Moana is a modern ecofeminist tale where a young woman leads not through power over nature, but through compassion and spiritual connection. The story centers on restoring balance to an earth goddess, Te Fiti, after her exploitation leads to ecological collapse. Moana's relationship with the ocean, her rejection of patriarchal limits, and her role in healing nature reflect core ecofeminist values that both women and earth are caretakers and not resources. In advertising, a company that comes to mind is The Body Shop. They stand out as a commercial example of eco-conscious feminism. Since the 1980s, this company has promoted sustainability by using ethically sourced ingredients and empowering women through its supply chains, like a shea butter co-op in Ghana. Their recent collaborations with organizations like Plan International USA aim to raise awareness about climate justice and gender equality at the same time. This shows how even in capitalist context, ecofeminist messaging can still be powerful. On social media, a account that comes to mind on Instagram is the Intersectional Environmentalist, and it was started by a girl named Leah Thomas, and it highlights how environmental justice is also a feminist issue. Posts like why climate justice is a feminist issue have gone viral by educating people on how marginalized communities, especially women, are disproportionately impacted by climate change. Her content has themes of climate justice, decolonizing sustainability, the role of Indigenous women in protecting ecosystems, and the gendered impacts of climate change. Is the ecofeminist narrative important? It challenges the dominant cultural idea that nature is something to be controlled, just as they critique the idea that women should be subordinate. Ecofeminist stories and campaigns remind us that liberating Earth and liberating people are deeply connected goals. The ecofeminist narrative challenges patriarchal and capitalist systems. It humanizes nature and empowers marginalized voices, and it encourages sustainable and intersectional worldviews. Ecofeminist media helps us imagine alternatives to exploitative economies and toxic masculinity, and invites us to reframe our relationship with Earth not as conquerors but as caretakers. It's about empathy, sustainability, and justice. The ecofeminist narrative in media is often critiqued as overly emotional or anti-scientific. It's often trivialized. An example that I think of is Greta Thunberg. She was viewed in the media as a little girl with a powerful voice, but as she got older, her way of advocacy for the planet matured. As she began to talk about how environmentalism intersects all aspects, as her message of climate justice started to include humanitarian issues, the way she was portrayed through the media became super different. In the words of Nadine Asbali in the article, "Why Have We Fallen Out of Love with Greta Thunberg?" When Thunberg shows solidarity with Palestinians who are currently being massacred by a major Western ally and with British-funded bombs, when she and her fellow activists enact genuine financial harm on the corporations that the government does its most lucrative deals with, when she opposes the government's draconian measures against migrants and the marginalized, she is getting too close to the very bone of the very inequalities that our nation is built on. Nowadays, the volume of her activist voice has been dampened, and throughout platforms such as TikTok and Instagram, I've seen through comments she's made fun of and not taken seriously, and she's kind of become a joke. At the end of the day, why does it all matter? Why does ecofeminist representation in the media, why does it even matter at all? As we know, media can either amplify a voice or suppress it completely. The climate crisis and gender inequality persists. Now more than ever, this ecofeminist representation in media matters. As we face global climate collapse and persistent gender violence, the media we consume can help us shift cultural narratives toward care, justice, and towards healing. Thank you so much for listening, and I really enjoyed diving into this topic. I hope you picked up something worth repeating.